Hey, you're listening to the right episode. If you wanted to know about the $30,000 phone call, and I'm your host, Steve Kyles, you're listening to the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast. We are powered by the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And Carl, the $30,000 phone call, my man.
First of all, I'm sitting here. Most people are listening to this on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Some of you are on the YouTube page watching the video of this. And I just realized, dude, they told me this was an original shirt. You've got the exact same
You copied me.
shirt. You got the exact same shirt as me. They told me this was the only one. So, all right, the $30,000
phone
call.
Yeah.
And really, we could call it the $30,000 appointment. So I just got back from a small think tank. There's about, I think it was 14 of us. We do this from time to time. I haven't done one of these in a while, so it was nice to do one where it's an invitation only, and these are it was an impressive group, right? The people that are there. This sounds kind of self-serving. I don't mean for it to, but it's an impressive group, and they're from all different verticals. So I'm the only one that's in the mortgage business. The rest of them are in some other business, and man, if you've never done one of those, really good stuff, right? Really good stuff. You know, it's funny when you walk into a room and it's Tiger Woods and Babe Ruth and Dan Marino for us
Titans
older
of their industry.
Yeah. And you're sitting at the table going, holy crap, how did I get in this room?
Yeah.
You're in the right room, right? And that's a really good thing to do. So one of the guys brought up, and this guy probably makes, I think he's coming up on that he's generated a little over $1 billion in revenue. I think he's at a little over 800 million right now. He thinks he's going to hit $1 billion this year.
Yeah.
Of personal revenue. Now he's got expenses with that, but that's his own personal revenue. Anyway, this is a big guy, right?
Yeah.
A real big guy, high money guy. And he said, I only take a call. I only do a meeting if in my mind, this is going to be worth at least $30,000. Now I thought of that. And at first that's a little hard to grasp, Steve, because I think you and I come from somewhat of a similar background, probably me a little bit more so on being the working poor. I think you guys, y'all didn't drive a Rolls Royce either, but I think our 1972 Ford Pinto, we bought ours used, and you probably bought yours new, right? But we were poor, like we were poor, right? Our poor, we were rich in other areas, but we were poor financially.
Sure. Yeah, right? We qualified for food stamps. I mean,
so we're on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't no new cars in our neighborhood. I mean, we were making it barely.
Yep, same here. So at first, when I heard this 30,000 phone call, my first thought is, all right, well, crap, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
And then I thought, now, wait a minute. If I'm talking to a real estate agent and I've qualified that real estate agent, right? Not qualified him as a human being, right? It's in case somebody's new. You people have been with us, you know what I mean by that. Like I'd never judge somebody as a human being qualified and unqualified. Yeah. But in work performance, I would, right? So if I'm talking to a real estate agent that has the clients and the ability to refer me one closing a month, well, you fast forward that if we get that, when we get that relationship's worth, in my world, about $3,000 a month.
Yep.
Right. Some of you more, some of you less per closing, but let's just say one closing a month, $3,000 as a hypothetical.
36 a year. Yeah.
36 a year. That's a $36,000 phone call, right? That's a $36,000 partnership. And so when you look at it that way, you go, well, I guess these $30,000 phone calls happen more often than what I thought. It's not like I'm going to do the phone call. They're going to write me a check for $36,000, but we developed this relationship. Frankly, they could be $100,000. Depending upon the agent. I've met with agents that I've made literally $100,000 in a single year on their referrals, and I'm sure, Steve, you have too. And so I thought, all right, so maybe as a loan officer, maybe we would change that number just a little bit And I thought, well, because we do have clients calling in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to make $30,000 from that client, but the agent that sent that person to me, or the source that sent that to me, maybe it was an accountant, maybe it was my past database, right?
Yeah.
But it is a 3,000 I've got clients that are doing loans. And so while they might not be worth $36,000, they're certainly worth 3,000 or whatever your closed loan is. So I think what I took home from that is, as loan officers and or branch managers, that if it's not likely at some level that this call is going to turn into a $3,000, and I don't mean 5 years from now, I don't mean some strategy that, hey, well, someday, you never know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, at the end of this call, we're likely to have an application in, we're likely to get a referral in, and not that it's possible that it happen, but it's likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That if it's not at least $3,000, I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to do that. So like, I tell you what's in the back of my mind. I'm kind of alluding to, and man, I hate to do this because I know sometimes this can alienate people, and I don't mean to do that. But as the saying goes, I love you enough that I'll risk our relationship to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of like networking groups.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now I'm not talking about the associations where they're teaching the CEs, maybe yourself or our friend Frank Garay, is our friend Chris Johnston, or whoever, any number of people are teaching classes and you're learning something. I'm not talking about that, right? That's
different. Yeah, that's education. We're learning.
Yeah,
we're growing.
Education is invaluable, right?
100%.
Single thing that's moved me. But then actually doing what you've been taught is a required part of that too.
You're talking about the chamber happy hour.
I'm talking about going to the happy hour, popping some corks, yucking it up with my loan officer buddies, which I enjoy doing. Right.
Yeah.
I just understand I'm not going to make any money there.
Yeah.
The likelihood of me leaving with a loan that day or the next week is just not real high. Now, we might have a good time, and that's okay. That's okay to do Saturday. That's okay to do Sunday. That's okay to do at 5:01 after work, right? But understanding it's also okay to do the crossword puzzle, to go for a walk, to skip stones across the lake. All those are fun things to do. I just don't lie to myself and say, all right, Carl, if I go skip some stones, I'm going to make more money. Frankly, the pondering part might make me more money. I make a lot of money pondering, right? I make a lot of money pondering. A whole lot. I know you do too, Steve. Sometimes we ponder together, and man, that's some of our best magic, right? 100%. So I'm not taking away, but that's what we do after hours when we're going for that evening walk, or we're walking the dog, or maybe we're just having a quiet moment with the missus. And sometimes we talk about them, sometimes we talk about the kids, and sometimes we're just quiet and we just ponder, right? But the thought of like, I'm going to go to this thing and meet other loan officers and we're networking and I'm officially working, that's likely not happening. I'm not saying not to do those things. I'm saying not to do those things during work hours, expecting to get loans from them, because it's not likely. So on this $3,000 rule, the one thing that's a requirement is brutal honesty to self.
Yeah.
And that's a hard part, because let me tell you something, brother. Great salespeople like yourself, like myself, like the fine people listening to this podcast today, you guys are all great salespeople, or most of you, some of you in support roles, most of you are great salespeople. And there's no easier person to sell than ourselves. I can sell myself that, rearranging my desk is going to help me get more loans, because then my mind will be clear of all the clutter and the loans are going to come, right? I can talk myself into that, right? So I have to get brutally honest.
Yeah.
What's the likelihood that I will be taking application in the next 8 hours from this activity, from this phone call I'm doing today? And if the likelihood is great, then make the phone call, go to the meeting. If the likelihood is not great, you got to let it go. Here's an example. We talk about, working with the qualified real estate agents.
Yes.
All right. So let's say we grab an average 100 agents, right? We just randomly pick 100 agents. So when we talk about qualified, we're talking about there's 8 buyer sides or more in the last 12 months.
Yes.
Or even better, 4 buyer sides in the last 6 months.
Which is, a lot of agents are shifting down, not up. So
That's
it's
right.
more
So
important than ever.
you have to hang with the winners.
That's
right?
it.
Not the ones waiting for things to get back to normal. Right.
Yeah.
This is normal. Right.
Yeah.
So of those that are qualified, if I grab a random 100 agents, how many would you guess of that 100? We just randomly grabbed the phone book and or we went to the Realtors Association, or we went to 100 open houses. How many of those agents that we meet out of 100 are closing 8 buyer sides more in the last 12 months, would you guess?
Well, that's not a guess. I would say it's 4 to 5%.
That's right. That's
because
right.
Hey, and I'll tell you why, because 10% close more than 10 transactions a year, but it's buyer and seller sides. So the buy side drops it down even further to half, and it's like 4 or 5%, Carl.
That's right.
I go hang out with 100 agents. How do you know you hit the bullseye and got the 4 or 5 that are actually doing the business?
Which is 1 out of 20.
It's crazy.
It's 1 out of 20.
Hey, well, we use this example at the boot camp, and it's like, hey, if I get an unqualified agent who does 4 buy side transactions a year, how many am I likely to get the opportunity at 2? Out of 2, how many will I close? Well, we average 1 out of 4. So that unqualified agent takes me 2 years to close 1 buy side transaction. That's just too long. You can't stay in business.
That doesn't meet the $3,000 phone call.
No way.
Remember, the rule is it's likely to result in a $3,000 application or referral coming to me in the next 8 business hours, right? Yeah. So what's a likelihood of that happening? So if I'm talking with an agent, random agent, they got a 1 out of 20 to even have the capability of referring to me. So so if we're talking about 1 out of 20, how likely is it that if I randomly stop an open house, that's going to be a $3,000 meeting? Well, it's a 1 out of 20 chance.
Yeah.
That's so brother, listen to this. We would have to go to an open house every week for almost a year to meet 1.
Man.
So in other words, we went to an open house for a solid year every single Saturday.
Yeah.
2.
Wow.
2.
Hey, Carl, it goes back to it's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not our listeners' fault. You know what happened was our industry is so intoxicated with busy, and you hear this, go to the networking, go to the luncheon, go to do this. And we have a slide that you use at the 2-day boot camp, and I love it. If you see your neighbor digging a pool with a spoon and you got a backhoe sitting next to it, man, we want to give you the backhoe. And what we've learned all of these years is that we're lasering the bullseye. Do you want to be busy or do you want to be effective? If you could achieve the results you want in a handful of hours a week versus 50 or 60, man, we'd love to show you a better way. And that really has to do with the qualified agents and understanding that the power of what that appointment, what that time slot, what that call is worth. Man, I love your question too, Carl. You're really challenging me and our teams about, man, will this meeting make us money? Doesn't mean we don't do things that don't make us money. But if we're locked in and we say, man, we're committed. I was talking to a loan officer yesterday and he said, my wife is counting on me. And I said, brother, if your wife is counting on you, is the call you're making today, does your calendar reflect the effectiveness of your wife counting on you and having real results? And he said, man, I got to dial it in. And we spent time dialing it in because his wife's counting on him.
Man, that's strong, man. Because and I would say, whether we're talking about our wife or our husband, or our mom or our kids or our pet parakeet that's relying on us to bring the bird seed to the cage, right?
That's it.
That on this call, could I look that person in the eye and say, I got your back? So in your case, you look at your calendar today and you look at all the calls and meetings that you're doing, and then looking at your wife, the wonderful Miss Stephanie, the lovely Mrs. Kyles, and you say, Steph,
babe, I got your back.
I got your back. I got your back just like you got mine. Right. And man, that'll make you look at your calendar. Yeah, that'll make you look at your calendar.
Well, and evaluate the effectiveness of the call. And Carl, one of the things I'm thinking right now, if you're listening today and you say, man, I need help with this, very thing to make sure I'm doing the right activity, go to freedomplanningcall.com. Myself, Carl, Kristen, Frank, one of our team members, one of us will get on a call and just literally help you map out the effectiveness and making sure that, you can look at your calendar and say, this 30 minutes, man, it's worth another $3,000. It's got the potential to bring it in, and you're doing what it takes in today's environment. And Carl, I talked to a brand new loan officer yesterday, Kevin. He's literally been in the business less than a year, closed 9 transactions this month, Carl. And I said, bro, okay, let's talk about it. And he said, all I am doing, I don't know anything else than to follow the plan. And, it just goes back to, you've got to have a plan that's helping you be the most effective that you can be, and making sure that every call, every appointment, everything that you're attending and doing moves the needle, or else you don't do it. And we can help you with it. freedomplanningcall.com. We'd be honored to invest 45 minutes to literally help map out a plan for you, so you too can be like so many of the people that we're seeing have massive success. So it's huge.
I can tell you it. You want to talk about a $30,000 call? That's a $30,000 call. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, freedomplanningcall.com. Hey, give us some closing thoughts and we'll wrap this episode up. But man, be thoughtful in the power of your call. Is it worth 30,000? Does it have the potential to give you 30,000? So give us some closing thoughts.
My closing thought is, you've got to protect your mind. I protect my mind like I protect an 8-year-old little girl. You know what I mean? I treat, this might sound weird, but it's a real thing. Yeah. I treat my mind like it's an 8-year-old little girl. And if I wouldn't expose an 8-year-old little girl to this situation or this thing, or the way people are talking to me this way, or wasting my time, I protect it. I protect my mind. That's why I'm very careful of the news that I watch or don't watch. I'm protective about the books that I read, the thoughts that that are put in front of me, the places where I might be tempted to go. I do. I don't know if I've ever shared that with you. It sounds kind of weird, but
that's a powerful illustration.
I protect my mind like I do my little Alexis when she was 8 years old. And if you're trying to bring crap into my head, my world, not on my watch. So that's what you have to treat your mind like it's you're protecting it like nothing else. And the time, your activities, what you're doing. You just have to be real honest with yourself. The hardest part is being absolutely honest and go, this is a good use of my time. Because sometimes we think busy work is better than doing nothing, and nothing can be further from the truth. Busy work will keep you from something. That's right. And when we had those vacuums, we go, holy cow, I got a vacuum here. I better get to it. I better figure out what do I need to do to get that $3,000 call. So freedomplanningcall.com, and we'll walk you through it. You're awesome, Steve. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Hey, remember this. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.